Afternoon, folks. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday indeed.
Nakhli Khoury, welcome.
Thank you.
I love that we're talking to you today, of all days. I'm excited to talk to you at all. However, I'm extremely excited because you fall in a succession of shows that all feel weirdly connected, yet completely unplanned. And we'll get into that.
Three in a row.
Yeah, 3 in a row where we just, if I was laying out podcasts in a row, I probably would have wanted you guys to be together just because for Tom and I, like there's a thematic concurrency to these conversations. However, that's not how these shows are booked. They are, I'm going to say air quotes, completely random. And the reason they're air quotes is because I don't think that the universe makes these random. I think that there is
the longer we've been doing this, there's always like a weekly theme, and then sometimes it's monthly. Sometimes we go on it for a while. But yeah, it's kind of cool how everybody just kind of chooses the slot that best fits the theme.
Yeah. So
that's
welcome.
Interesting. Yeah. Thank you so much for the invitation, for holding the space. And one of the definition of random is us not identifying the pattern. So
yeah. Well, before we got into this kind of gig, I would say I was more open to the idea of coincidence. Right? I'm less convinced of coincidence now. It just seems too regular.
Yeah, definitely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, people listening, I'm sure, like, what the fuck is he talking about now? I mean, because it does sound a little weird if you're not into that, like, space mentally, but, like, too consistently, too frequently, too often, it's just the same thing. Like, A leads to B leads to C, but I would never have thought about A or C, and somehow B just worked itself right in the middle. And just, I don't know, it's crazy.
You know what helped me really figure out or understand what seems or look like a coincidence? And I remember you have a scientific background, right?
Yeah, we're both science nerds, yes.
So I saw this video explaining about the different dimensions and how people in 2D see a 3-dimension objects moving from their point of view. And every time they took this one level up, like people in 3-dimensional, I mean, we see objects, but whenever an object from a 4-dimension world enter our object, it also seems weird the way it interacts. But because we only see it from our limited perspective. So for me, it takes a higher consciousness, maybe, or being in a different dimension, that these coincidences actually seems very logical and pattern, and it's even expected what to come next. So I always feel whenever there's a coincidence, maybe I'm not in the right frequency to understand it, but I trust that it's there for a reason.
Yeah, Neil deGrasse Tyson had like one of the best descriptions of this that I've ever heard, and it really helped me sort of land this. He said dimensionality is important, and here's how. If you're a stick figure and somebody draws a circle around you, you're stuck. If you become a 3-dimensional being, now all you do is step over the line and you're out of the circle. If you're a 4-dimensional being, you just go to the paper before the circle was drawn and walk away.
Yeah.
And I was like, fuck, if you didn't just lay that out in like 3 very brief sentences, now it makes all the sense in the world. And like, it's hard to remember that though.
It's much easier than my example, let's say.
Well, that's why he's Neil deGrasse Tyson, and we're all sitting here on this show.
I'm sure he might have had a team helping him write that analogy too. I'm not taking away from his brilliance. I'm just saying he's probably got some people prepping his show.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But listen, hey, it's, this is what I like about learning and I call myself professionally curious, is because you never know when you get that one piece that you're like, and that is the thing that makes sense now. I now understand this thing that I've been fighting with. And it takes sometimes thousands of examples before you get to the one thing that makes sense for you. But when you do, it's beautiful.
Yeah. So was there a point that triggered you to become curious, or was it something that you always had?
No, it's just something I always had. And honestly, I think this show is is the physical manifestation of that curiosity in general and that like personality trait. And I don't want to talk for you, Tom, but I feel like you're probably not too different in this regard. Like you just
I don't think you're off.
You keep asking questions until you get an answer that sparks 8 more questions. And then you just ask those and you just keep going and going. And there really isn't an end. It just sort of, I'm not asking questions because I'm trying to get to a specific location. I'm just asking questions because I want to know what the next step looks like.
Yeah. I mean, this reminds me with something, because for many years, I also didn't have one definition to what I do. And I felt that I needed some kind of a definition, because this is how my mind works. I need to have some clarity around it. And I used to work in corporate, different roles, mainly in consulting, risk assessment, internal audit, and finally as compliance and ethics. And I used to say, I help companies navigate through uncertainty. So this is my way to describe myself without being attached to the title. But at the same time, I hated corporate. Like it's not that I hated it, but I was aware of the dark side of it. And I felt...
Yeah, it's okay. You can say you hate it. I mean,
you're not going to upset anybody here.
Yeah, no one's going to be mad at you, man. Everyone listening to this thing hates it.
It's called Irreverent Health. You can say, fuck, do whatever you want, man.
Yeah. You don't have a rule here.
I mean, it's still a strong word. And there is like a very good side of corporate. Like you meet wonderful people. It's a great school. It's innovative and it's rewarding and all of that. But it's not, I feel it's not perfect for the new world or for the new transition or transformation that's happening now. So what I started to do, I started to shift and I started to support people in corporate in their transformation. But then I needed a new definition to myself. I couldn't say I help individuals and so on. And what I identified as a common theme through my life, and this is why I ask you about curiosity, is my new definition. So I'm a curious teacher. I like to gain knowledge in order to share it with others that find it useful. And it was comfortable definition for me because it described what I did in corporate, but it also described what I do in one-on-one level, and as a coach, as a breathwork instructor, and so on. And I agree with you. It's not about gaining all the knowledge. It's just enjoying, being curious, being playful, and meeting and collecting experience, and so on. So that's why I asked if there was like a single moment that triggered that in you, or...
No, it's not a moment, but you know what it is? It's actually, it's two sides of my psyche running into each other, right? And on one side, it's my grandparents telling me, you have to go to college, you have to get married, you have to have 2.5 kids, you have to, you know what I mean? Like, and all those things are destination orientations, right? Like, so I have to go to college, that's a destination, right? I have to finish college, that's a destination. I have to get married, that's a series of destinations, right? In pursuit of those destinations, though, you need to take steps forward, sometimes sideways, sometimes backwards, but you have to take steps, right? Each one of those steps has to be informed. That information could be good, it could be bad, but it's infinitely less crazy if it's good, at least as the patterns that I had identified in my own life. So 1 + 1 equals, I didn't want to waste my fucking time doing dumb things. So I started to get very strategic about like, how do I acquire information that gets me from here to there in the most efficient way possible? And then all of a sudden 20 years goes by and I'm still doing it. And you're like, oh shit, I guess this is just the way life is now, because I didn't even notice it was happening. But now you start doing that for long enough, and now the trail of facts that you've accumulated is pretty long. You know what I mean? Like it just
Matt is so long about it. I'm like, I just wanted to learn cool stuff.
No, I mean,
like
because it is logical if you follow to his point. It's logical if you follow why I would have got. I didn't just wake up one morning and say, "Hey, let's ask 8 million questions today." That's not how that went, right? It was like I need to ask 3 more questions today because these 3 specific questions get me to the point where I need to be.
Yeah. I fully understand that, agree with it. And in a way, I lived my life like this. But while you were speaking, I remembered the speech that Steve Jobs gave about connecting the dots.
I don't know if I remember. I don't know that I know this one.
I think it was, I can't remember which university, but he was invited as a graduation event, and then he gave the speech. What he was saying that his life experience and the different thing that he did, he didn't necessarily choose them, or he didn't plan them or target them. And he never actually understood why he was doing this. And I think at one point he was working in copy machine or developing some fonts like for the print and so on. But later in life, all these random experiences actually made him who he was. But only at a later stage, we are able to make this connection, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we talked about dimension earlier. So we are limited by the dimension of time. We see things from now and we try to make sense of them. And we think that we have the ability to anticipate or plan or navigate through it. But sometimes things doesn't make sense at the moment. It just becomes more clear when the time passes or later in life. And when I realized that, it was a little bit comforting, because in a way, I had to trust the process, that eventually I will get where I'm supposed to get. And it took the pressure from the present for me to own the process or to try to manage it. But that's
very fascinating.
Yeah.
There's like an African word I recently realized was not the name of a server, but Ubuntu. Which is funny. For years, I just, I took for granted that that's a computer term, but it's not at all. But when I peeled this back, it's exactly what you're saying from a sociological point of view. It's like, I am because we are. Mm-hmm. I'm only here because we are here. And every interaction with everything that I do is contributing to who I am, why I am, how I am. It's like a crazy concept but this is like built into the societal level. It's like part of their DNA. They're like, no, this is just how the world works. And I'm like, wow, it's powerful.
It is. And sorry, I didn't.
No, you're good.
Yeah.
But this thing presents in all the indigenous culture, like the way they perceive their human experience is not as we look at it from, I don't want to say the Western world, but, like in the common way of thinking nowadays. So they see themselves as a collective or as a part of a bigger plan or a bigger consciousness. In the Indian tradition, they also have the concept of soul contract, that before the soul come to life, in a way, it chooses its lessons and challenges. But when we are born, we forget that. And our mission in life is to remember why did we came and to try to fulfill this choice. So it's fascinating because, you can live a full lifetime doing other things and not what necessarily you chose to do. And it's also fine. But it's like a game, right? I used to play a lot of the, Blizzard games that you have a quest and there are some characters that benefit to your success, and some of them are just random character there that don't really contribute. And we always see the game from the main character point of view, right? So in this life, maybe I'm the main character. In someone else's life, I'm the character that has nothing really to do and just, standing on the side, blacksmith or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And I like this concept because it took my ego away.
Sure.
I don't take myself seriously because I feel maybe my whole existence here is just to open the door for a lady that was going to this institution, and this will lead to amazing experiment, and I don't know what could end up from that. Sometimes
and I
we
think
take
that
ourselves,
might be.
yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Like sometimes a lot of the problems and issues come from us, from our ego, like taking ourselves too seriously and thinking that everything is around our own journey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think what you're saying about that is about like forgetting when you're born and kind of soul contract. We've kind of
so many near-death experience people on the show, and you've said that, said that, you know, not necessarily from an Eastern tradition either.
Yeah, and I'm wondering, is the reason why you don't connect these dots till later in life possibly relating to the fact that like it takes your life to uncover that contract's real meaning in the first place, right? Like, you know, you wouldn't have made a contract at that level unless there was something you really, really wanted to figure out, like, or experience, or, you know, like it's not going to be easy.
Yeah, I have so many stories on that. And, you know, about NDAs or near-death experience, I was also fascinating with it. And I listened to so many podcasts about it. And I met a person who has his own near-death experience. Fascinating guy, by the way. I can maybe share his details later.
Yeah, we've had a bunch of them on. I'd have 10 more if we could.
Yeah. Always a great story.
Yeah. His name is Jim Bruton, I think. He's also, first of all, he had an amazing life story, including the near-death experience. And I met him in an event that I was in the US. But what I wanted to say, it's like choosing a college as a soul. If you want to learn technical things, probably you will go to MIT and help me out here with the university specialist. If you want to learn medicine, you go, I don't know, to Harvard or
Hopkins
Boston area, right?
Yeah.
One of my mentors used to say that souls that choose to be born in the Middle East, they choose the lesson of how to love and accept the other. And souls who chose to be born in Europe, for example, they choose to learn the lessons of how to love and accept themselves. And it's the difference in a way between a society that it's collective and individual society. So for me, someone that was born and raised in the Middle East and moved to Europe, I could understand that. Like I see in Europe, they deal with more issues of depression, of addiction, of family abuse. And in the Middle East, it's mainly political conflicts. It's one group against the other. And your identity is part of the group that you belong to.
Right.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
So you chose the country or the area that gives you more opportunity to work on the lesson that you need as a soul or as a spirit. Yeah.
And if you look at America, you know, as another one of that, it just following that sort of different societal difference, America is the youngest by a country mile of all
forever. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And we're a little crazy. We're like petulant teenagers over here. We're running around like taking ayahuasca in the woods and yelling about fucking whatever. And so our priorities are very, very different from Europe or the Middle East, not because it's good or bad. It's just that from a evolutionary like perspective, we're youngins. We're babies over here.
Yeah. So I actually thought what other countries might be a school to. And since I didn't have enough experience of living there or knowing, I asked the AI and I gave it a few prompts. I said, okay, what do you think a soul that is born in the US came to learn, and so on. So before I answer, what do you think could be the answer of that?
I honestly could not fucking tell you. Like that's a fun question.
That's such a weird one, especially now.
What did it learn? Yeah, I guess how to gain followers on your Instagram channel. Might be my guess.
You know, I think we were sold this thing of rugged individualism, but I don't think that's the lesson, because clearly it led us to here.
Yeah. All right, you're killing me. We got to know.
Yeah.
Ready? Drum beat?
Yeah.
I know you like music. So the answer that I got, and we can debate if it's, if it makes sense or not, but it doesn't have to.
Will.
So what it replied that souls who choose to be born in the US chose to learn the lesson of responsibility in creation.
Like
you have
I can see that.
the power to create and to influence and impact, but it could be devastating power at the same time.
Sure, yeah. Well, creation and destruction are one and the same, right? Like they're all, we just talked about this, I think, on last night's show, right? Like it's like, destroying things isn't necessarily bad. In fact, the context of that conversation was a CEO might be hired to destroy a company, like intentionally. And so the news media and everybody who works there and is associated is like, this person's doing a terrible job. They're fucking running the company to the ground. And like the reality is that might be the reason that they're there.
Yeah.
That could.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No. Sorry, I think my internet's a little weird too. So
what I was trying to say, that it's not about are we creating something good or bad. It means that you have more opportunities to create or to influence if you chose to be born in the US, right? At the end of the day, we need the positive and the negative experiences.
Sure.
Like, if everything is fine, I mean, it will be really boring, right? I mean, there was no...
It would be.
Yeah.
It would be. And I see this in Switzerland in a way. Switzerland is a wonderful country. Everyone who visits think it's a piece of heaven and all of that. But young people suffer from it. And every day, actually, between 2 and 3 men commit suicide in Switzerland.
Wow.
And you say, like, why is that? Why would someone that is born in a perfect place will take their own life? And for me, one reason that I thought that they don't have enough opportunities to appreciate what they have. And I can maybe give you another example that emphasizes this for me. Before I moved to Switzerland, I was working in a pharmaceutical company, and I volunteered to go to South Africa and Lesotho to support NGOs that helps patients. And patients were mainly young kids with HIV and other diseases. And remember, one day we went to a field visit to high school, and my colleague, she was from the US, and I had this conversation that, these kids, they have no health, no wealth, absolutely nothing. And we wanted to make them happy for at least one day, right? To make their life easy. How arrogant are we, right? So when we met them, they were the one with a big smile, welcoming us, hugging us, sharing with us what they don't have. And I was so touched by it. Like, how can it be that people that have nothing are so generous, so full of love? And I remember when I was there, I knew I'm moving to Switzerland, and I said, oh, how lucky am I? In 2 weeks, I'm going to a place that people have everything. So imagine the warm welcome and the experiences. And as you could imagine or figure out, when I moved to Switzerland, it was absolute isolation. Like, no one really cares about you. People are polite, but they are not warm in a way. And then I realized that, in a way, the more that you have or accumulated, the more you become protective of it. And they say, the definition of attachment is not that you don't own anything, is that nothing owns you. And I feel in Switzerland, they are protective of what they have. And of course, this is not a collective statement. I heard, I don't want to make the impression that everyone in Switzerland is the same, but it's a shift in relationship or in temper when you meet a regular person on the street. I mean, you don't feel that it's natural to them to welcome or to hug or to share what they have.
Right. It is funny. I was in Switzerland last year for the first time, and I was only there for a week, but the things you're saying makes absolute sense. I really loved the country. It was beautiful. But I was in Zermatt skiing, and we were skiing with a guy who's born and raised in Zermatt, and he said there's a big thing that he pushes, which is you need to leave Zermatt for a while. Like, you have to get out of here. You have to go and not come back, like, for a while, like years. Like, and the reason why, he said, was if you stay here, this is not reality. Like, this is, Tom, it's like the town they modeled Whoville after for Dr. Seuss. Like, and it looks exactly like Whoville, by the way. Like, it's like exactly like the Matterhorns in the distance. It's literally like exactly, the movie did a great job. But he's right. If you live in Whoville, there's no fucking reality attached to this, right? Like, you are completely cut off. You can't drive cars in this town. Like, you have to park your car 20 minutes away and take a train in. So, like, I can see what you're saying. If somebody stayed there and didn't leave, you might never know how unique that place is.
You know what, Matt? I was thinking about, like, God, it must have been our first year doing this, where we talked about that article that came out. And basically the tagline was, are they crazy? Are they drunk? Or are they American?
Yeah.
And it's because Americans default to smiling. And, they were speculating that it's because we're not one race. We're not one population. We're not one identity. So to let others know that we're friendly, we smile, but you don't see that throughout Europe. You don't get necessarily the warmth there. And I've seen it in cultures in the Middle East, definitely warmth. I've gotten hugs from strangers when I was in Egypt. And it doesn't seem to be congruent across the globe. So it's very interesting that, you're keying in on that as somebody that moved there as a transplant, that like, hey, there isn't this warmness. There isn't this connection necessarily.
And there's another aspect to it. When I also moved, I read a book about Switzerland to understand cultural differences. And the author, he was from the UK, but lived in Switzerland for some time. And he gave the example about the difference between the coconut and the peach as a fruit. And he actually referenced the US approach. The peach is very soft from the outside, but it has a hard seed in the inside, right? And when you meet an average person from the US, I mean, it's always, as you said, a smile and a small talk, how's your day? And it's very soft and tender. But there's also a place that you cannot pass further, right? I mean, you will not be invited to my home in the first day, and there's privacy and some kind of a limit. The Swiss are more like a coconut, so they have a very harsh shell. Like, you ask them a question, they will reply, they will be polite, they will be very professional and give you what you need, but they will vanish. So they have a very hard shell to penetrate in a way. But once you do, it's so soft and tender from the inside. It's like a coconut. And the reason for that,
analogy.
And they value friendship, they value trust, and they say trust needs time to be built. So they are protective also from, not from a place that they don't like you, but they know that you might be just passing in, like an expat, and there's so many expats, so many visitors. So they don't want to invest their energy in relating to you or connecting with you, knowing that you might leave the next day or in a few months or next year. So I also
they said like 30% of Zurich is a transplant. I'm like,
exactly.
It's So,
and I learned
your neighbor might be moving away any minute now.
Well, I mean, that makes sense too. Why would you invest the time if this person's going to be gone?
Sure. Yeah, it makes sense.
And this is one struggle that kids have in international schools. Like you have
Yeah,
people
sure.
switching, every year you have a new class, or I mean, maybe not new, but people come and go frequently. And it's something that I'm not used to. Like, I know I lived in a small village all my life. I had the same kids, whether I like them or not, it's not important, but they
Where
were
are you
part
from
of
originally?
my whole childhood, right? And
yeah. Where'd you grow up? Where are you from originally?
oh, that's another Pandora box. So I was born and raised in Galilee, north of Israel.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But I also happen to be Palestinian and a recovering Catholic. So I chose all the traumas at once. So
yeah, all the traumas at once. Your soul contract is multifaceted.
How can Abrahamian religions do me wrong?
Yeah.
My plan was I need one lifetime to go through the whole shit. I don't want to go back, come back again.
Yeah, I don't want to go back.
I want to read the whole book, not just one chapter. Yeah.
Yeah.
Give me the full package.
That's funny. So, it's interesting, and I've always really kind of marveled at this, because to the theme of this conversation, it is very foreign to me to know this, so I don't really know it. But if you look at the Middle East, they're thousands and thousands and thousands of years old, right? So they've been doing this whole society thing for a really long time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so those groups, good, bad, or indifferent, are what got them through that length of time together. Like they were, you had to kind of stick together. That is the opposite of the United States, in the sense that the people who were rewarded are the ones that packed their family on a wagon with no idea where they were going and no resources to get there, and said, fuck you all, we're leaving. And those are the people that got rewarded. No tribe, no direction, no history. My history starts today, and that, if you look at it now that we are, this is our 250th anniversary as a country, and now we're 250 years old. We kind of are at least not children anymore, but we're still, when you compare us to Egypt or Israel, we're
there really isn't much culture there. There isn't much substance. And I think, God, man, I think that's where we get this identity crisis from, right? A lot of the stuff that we think we are, at least here in the US, it could have been completely fabricated, because we started over. You invented yourself, the first people that came over here, the first people that went west. And God, I feel weird saying the first people, because there was literally
a lot of people before that.
A lot of people here first.
We just had to kill them all first.
Yeah, we just had to, give them bad blankets and stuff.
Yeah.
Sorry, I went dark there.
Yeah.
But you mentioned the topic of identity crisis, and I see it's a very common lesson now, not only for nations, but also for individuals. And for me, it makes perfect sense, because a lot of what I do is influenced by natural law of the universe, the Hermetic laws, or the Kybalion book, and other wisdom. And there's these lines or thoughts that, as above, as below, or and the shift in mindset, and we see this in the US, we see this in Europe, in other countries. The question is, who are we as a nation, or what is our values, and what do we want to represent and become as a nation, right? And it has a lot to do with immigration, with shift in population, with political views, but you also see it in the individual level. I don't know how deep or visible is it in the US, but in Europe there's mass restructuring in global companies. Many individuals are losing their jobs, and it's not only a job, because they are losing their identity. The number of available jobs now much less than the seekers. It means that some people will. Sorry about that. Someone
is okay.
Which means that
I like
someone
your doorbell. That's quite festive.
Yeah. So what I'm trying to say, that for some people they will find a new job, the others have to find a new path. And
not just a new job, but a new path altogether.
Oh, I think we're definitely seeing that here. I mean, we might have been the cause of most of that.
Yeah, that whole creation thing you were talking about.
Yeah.
that's got two sides to it, right? You can create some cool stuff, but the unintended consequences or intended consequences, I guess, aren't always great. So,
and this might require us to change from the inside. Like it happens all the time. Whenever we face a challenge, it's a signal or a sign that probably we need to change something within. The easiest example is, and I see this a lot in corporate, that you are not happy with your job, you switch company or you switch teams, and you end up in the same exact situation. Or let's say you have a horrible relationship with a partner, you split, you meet another person, and it's exactly the same type of person. Because we keep attracting the same experiences if we remain the same people or the same collective consciousness. That's why, going back to the conflict in Israel and Palestine, I know that there hasn't really be a real change in both sides. So I know that these experiences is just a matter of time that it will be coming again and again.
Sure.
This is unfortunate, but for us who see the conflict in the way we see it, we know that the solution is not yet ready.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? And this is a perfect example of the differences in America. Not now that we've got something else to take up our news headline. I haven't seen a headline on the Israeli conflict in months.
But I feel like that's by design too, right? Like get them to stop talking about Epstein, get them to stop talking about whatever it is. Just do something more horrible, louder, more
that's
confusing.
My point. Like that's our playbook, right? Like,
Yeah.
We need Israel's help in this Iran thing, so we got to have them out of the news to make this better.
Yeah.
So let's figure something else out and just stop talking about them for a little while. But if I lived in Israel, I'm sure that's not exactly what I'm thinking at all.
Yeah. So the way I see it, you might change the topic that you are reporting on, but you didn't change the frequency that you are reporting.
No, you're right. Yeah, 100%.
And for me, as long as you keep the same energy or the same thoughts that you are spreading, you are actually not really changing the news. It's actually the same broadcast to keep people in a stage of suspicious, of fear, of isolation, of what's the word? In a survival mode in some cases, because this is when we are much more easy to be controlled or manipulated or guided. It's much more difficult to guide someone who is awake, who's clear about what's happening. And I saw a podcast episode, a lady that was talking that it also has to do with masculine and feminine energy, that it's much more easy to make a man or a masculine man to be compliant, to follow the rules and to go to war. It's much more difficult to do the same with females or with men who have feminine energy in them, because something in them will say, no, wait, I need to think about it, or no, that's not right, or maybe there's another way to do it.
Right.
I found this interesting also as a way of distinguishing.
Well, and we I think, so this is actually a great segue. I can't even imagine how much better this could have been, but you're an awakening guy, right? This is one of the things you focus on, right? And so we've talked about this a million times. I really want to hear your take on this, but the world is astrologically in an awakening, moving into another era or epoch or whatever the right word is for that. That is manifesting physically in humans. You talked about it at the top of the show. I think our previous two guests have all talked about this as well, about this sort of global transition. Some people have said, many people have called it an awakening. A lot of people are describing it as this transition from something to something else. No one knows how to like really put it on there. But if you look at what you were just saying, and you look at the American news cycle in particular, we found out that algorithmically speaking, it's a lot more profitable to be pissed off than it is to be happy. And so for the last 10, 15 years, our business has been keeping people pissed off.
Yeah.
But if you look at Gen Z now, they're going, we just talked about this on our last show, they're going to parties with no booze and no phones. Those are the two things that make people the angriest. Anger or alcohol and phones.
Yeah.
And they're like, nope, we're going to go to this party and not do either of those things. From an economic standpoint, in particular, a U.S. economic standpoint, those realities at scale are catastrophic.
Well, especially since they're translating that into not going to bars, right?
Yeah, well, that's
like,
what I'm saying.
They're going to kill the bar industry. And it's like, well, if that's what the people want, I don't see a problem with that. But yeah.
Well, and the fact that there's a bar, I mean, you go down to downtown Baltimore. Every other store is a bar.
Yeah.
Which is, it's so nice to see and witness from the new generation. I'm a little bit pissed off on them because, like, our generation had to go through all the shit so they can we figured it out. We just do whatever is good for us.
You're taking shrapnel from 3 different religions, and then like here these kids are, they're just like putting their phone down and calling it a day.
I don't want to do this anymore. Okay.
I respect that about them.
But that kind of awakening globally, like, what's your take on it from your vantage point? Do you see kind of similar things?
I do. I was today having a conversation with Perry, actually, the founder of the Octopus movement. The fact that more and more people are leaving corporate, it means that more and more people are becoming entrepreneurs or building their own businesses, which means that more people now are owning their trajectory. I mean, they could succeed or fail. It's not important, the result, but it means that there's more power of free creation. Because once you are in corporate, you are told what to do. You are already in a place that doesn't really require your creativity. Sure. It requires your productivity. But the example that really I had in mind, and it's also a weird story, but I guess maybe you might understand.
We like weird stories, dude.
You haven't heard the podcast, huh?
Yeah.
I did something called the Nadi leaf reading, and in the south of India.
Okay.
4,000 or 5,000 years ago, a group of Maharishis, they wrote letters for future humans. And humans, us nowadays, you can check if there's a letter written for you. And these letters were written from a place of guidance and compassion for people on facing a crossroad that might give them hints, what to do or how to react to it. What I found interesting, that there are no letters for people that were born after 2050. And one assumption is that the next generation will already be in a different level of consciousness, and they are more aware of who they are.
So not necessary.
Humans, that they don't need this type of guidance anymore. So I was actually really like, how could this be planned or structured this way? It just seems to me too much structured in it. Probably you're asking, how could someone 4,000 or 5,000 years ago write a letter for me today, right? And the way they explain it, and now it became maybe more easy, or not easy, but more scientifically explainable, that the Maharishis tap into the Akashic field, or what we call now the quantum field, where all the information is stored, where all the knowledge are in one place. And there's no, the time there is not linear. My best example for that is the last scene from the movie Interstellar.
Oh, I love that. That movie is awesome.
Yep.
Yeah.
And when he was navigating in this place that was created for him in the library to see different stages and to send messages, probably I'm spoiling the movie, but it has been some time since the release. So But that's the place that, imagine that you own like a video library. You've seen all the movies. And you have the ability to tap into one character and say, oh, don't go up these stairs. You know, the boogeyman is there or whatever. So the field is a place where all the stories are known, are written. And you can tap into it also in the, personally, like the yogis or the spiritual people. Sometimes they call it connecting with the higher self or with the higher dimension through meditation. Sometimes you get insights, you get ideas, you get downloads that is coming from the same field, from the same place. It's the same field of energy that also has a creative energy and a healing energy. Joe Dispenza talks about also when you meditate or when you try to implement different techniques, that you can tap into a place of that you can reprogram your subconsciousness, and you can add new information that it could change the way that you think, behave, and act. To eventually lead you to a place that you want to go. Because most of our thoughts and behaviors are autopilot every day. Even though we are aware we shouldn't do a certain things, we do it subconsciously.
And it's funny, you asked me earlier if there was something that about my curiosity, and like what you just said is like exactly that experience, right? Like you sort of start out empirical in nature and you're looking for specific things, but then you realize that no, these connect in a different, higher level than that. And I need to get, I need to go through the process. And it's just like, I'm like sitting here, you're talking and I'm like, shaking my head. I'm like, yep.
So just to give you an example, when I did the reading, I had like almost 2-hour call with them, Zoom call, that they told me what's written in my leaf. And the way I decide to go through it, it's not that, okay, whatever is written there, that's the truth and I will follow it. I said, I will listen. If it makes sense to me, if it resonates, I will take it. If not, I will just consider it as another experience. So can I ask
you, without cutting you off here,
but what came out in it, that in a previous life cycle,
how did they choose
I was actually a contractor in what's now known as Singapore in Asia, and I had a big company. I was building houses, but I was also a very cruel person.
Every Friday at this time,
I was denying them from home visits, treating them very bad, and causing a lot of pain and suffering for them. And from that lifetime, there was a curse for me going forward. This is why in this lifetime, I chose to be a minority, like in a way to be in the receiving end and to see things from the other side. So this information, if it's true or not, it's not the point. But hearing that, it allowed me to accept my reality in a more peaceful way and not to reject it or to have ownership on it.
It's so crazy that you said that. Again, so many similarities with you, and so many things that you say that are resonating with me. But like, I did a past live thing as well. And, you know, it was sort of he asked me, he's like, well, what do you want to focus on? We don't have all the time in the world. And I said, how about my wife and I? Have we been married before? And he said, yes, 4 times. And he went through it. The first time I was a womanizing fisherman in Greece. The second and third time she was the husband. And we went through, a terrible life in the 1800s and through the Great Depression. She was an electrician. So, and again, all these stories are the stories. Not that they mattered, and maybe they're not real, maybe they are real. But what it did is, if it was real, then our current version of being married makes a lot of sense and makes me very comfortable, because I can see it as a progression in a larger context rather than just saying, here we are, right?
Yeah.
And of course, I've made fun of my wife from this, by the way, a million times. I'm like, listen, I fucked it up the first time by banging all the fishermen girls in the village, and you took the reins, but listen, you fucked it up. So back to me. I'm going to take us home. Cause he did say, he goes, this is probably the last time you'll be married to her. Usually like 4 times is about when it tops off. You guys have learned all you can from one another. And I said, hey, let's imagine that that's true. let's fucking live this one like there's no tomorrow. Like, let's just go to fucking town and like just do it. No holds barred. And if we can do it, let's not ask questions. And we've kind of done that. And it's like, again, who knows if it's right? Who cares if it's right?
So,
you know,
do you want to know what it really gets crazy?
I'd love to.
That this is not the last time that you are married to each other. Because from a linear time point of view, this might be the last one that happened. But in the field or in the quantum field, the 4 relationships are happening at the same time.
Right.
And this is so powerful because whatever you are doing in this life might actually help the relationship in other lives.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the whole part of Interstellar that blew my fucking mind, that circular language situation. That shit was crazy. I'm like, that is wild. And Tom's favorite saying.
Which one?
If I didn't
know, that's a Zen Cohen. Yeah. If I didn't know you then I wouldn't know you now.
Yeah.
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 And I mean,
Tom must have said that 100 times. No, I mean,
this
it's a hard concept.
You have this approach about life and challenges. It just, I feel it gives you more power to deal with it rather than rejecting it, and rather than try to justify, your point of view. It just, I don't know. For me, it gave me different approach.
Sure. So like, is this kind of like one of the things that got you into the awakening pathway? I mean, like your breath work and your yoga work, I mean, those feel more to me like things that you do and things that you get benefit from. But like this awakening idea is a little bit more esoteric, right? Like that's a little less grounded.
I mean, I was always close to this type of thinking. When I was really young, I wanted to study philosophy or to be a movie director, and I ended up an accountant. But what really triggered that or awakened me was actually that my body gave me a signal that I'm not going the right direction. And I actually was a co-author in a book called Corporate to Calling, where I talk about this experience. But it put me in a place that I started to ask myself, why did I invited this to my life? I mean, what is it in me that actually invited a health issue or this lesson? And then I realized that my health issue was connected a lot to a feeling of shame. And then I started to say, okay, when did I experience shame? And I find that in my life story, I had so many experiences. I mean, beginning from when I was really young, and I was riding a bicycle, and I opened a huge cut in my thigh, like 15 centimeters. I don't know how much in inches.
Oh,
wow. And for years, I didn't wear shorts, so I was ashamed of my body, right? And then also being raised in a small town, my parents didn't have the healthiest marriage, and this was known in the village. And at some point, they also divorced. So I was ashamed of this story. And also as a minority, in Israel, I was too Christian for the Muslims, too Arabic for the Jews, and too Israeli for Europeans in a way. So I had experience of shame in my body, in my mind, and in my soul. And only when I was able to accept that, I felt that, okay, I'm releasing this energy from my life and releasing this lesson. So now I belong not to a certain group. I belong to people that are like me, that are conscious, that see things the way I see it. I found my tribe in a way.
Which is funny because that tribe is less of a tribe and more of a way of life, right? Like
I also feel like it's growing too.
Yeah, and it's a growing, ever growing. I don't see anybody going into that tribe and leaving it. You know what I mean? They don't go find
you found a
something
path that you can keep exploring, you know?
I don't think anyone's ever gone the other way, calling to corporate. You know what I'm saying? Like, no one goes back.
Not by choice, at least, right?
And I don't even know. I'd make an argument that even if like money was tight and you needed the cash, you probably don't really go back fully, right? Like I would say that you're
exactly, because in a way you have changed. So even if you go back, it's not the same you.
It's not the same.
And if all of us leave corporate, in a way, things will remain the same. So I don't feel that, let me say that, everyone is free to decide how to write their next chapter. Mm-hmm. Some people leave corporate, some people stay and try to change it within or to support others from the inside out. But yeah, I mean, and just to answer your question, so breathwork and yoga helped me during my healing journey, my process to connect with myself, to tap into a place that feels familiar and right, and to act from a place of love and compassion towards myself instead of acting from a place of fear. And this is what I try to do with I don't call them clients, but the people that I support their journey, because this is so common. And, I walked my journey on my own and I had no idea. I mean, I had to search and learn and reach out to different resources to try to figure it out. And now I see it as a beautiful privilege, like to be there for others and to walk along their side and maybe help them remember who they are, to connect with their mission. And because once you do that, you easily find a way to thrive. And it doesn't have to be financial success, but you feel that you are living a fulfilled life that you came to lead.
Do you find that people come to you when they are sort of having a crisis, or is this sort of people come to you mostly as a part of an evolutionary journey that they're already on and you're just the next logical step?
So most of the time, there are people that are in transition. Either they are lost their job or they know that they are going to lose their job. But there are some few that they have a job, but they don't have the fulfillment. Like I meet so many people with the perfect LinkedIn profile, but they tell me that, we are running on fuels. I feel that I don't really know who am I anymore. And they don't leave corporate because they don't know what to do else. Like they spent years, and these are the smartest, brightest people, the most capable, but they are trained to do one single function in a corporate. And you know this because when you ask a person, who are you? They start telling you their job title. Like, really? Is this who you are?
Yeah, they're stuck.
And especially here in the United States.
It's your definition of who you are in a lot of ways. It's kind of sad.
Which is actually funny that the biggest problem, quote unquote, that people have with AI is their identity, their own personal identity. So now we're abdicating identification to a non-sentient group of copper and circuit boards. And that's weird. It's like, it's the opposite of human, right? It's a strange thing, but like this is a very real concern for people.
Yeah. And as you know, probably speaking this language in corporate, it's not very common, right?
No. It's a fast track to layoffs, buddy.
Exactly. I used to make the joke that, the room gets empty very fast when you start discussing things.
Yes, it does.
But what I really kept me going, that once in a while, one of the people in the room would reach out privately later. And he said, you know what you said resonated with me. And I thought I was the only one thinking this way. And I had no idea that, this actually exists or whatnot. So I felt that I need to make myself visible enough in order that those who look for me or someone like me are able to find me. It's not an easy choice.
Well, that's that manifestation thing coming true again, right? It's like, hey.
And, I get to be seen different cycles. I get to be invited to fun podcasts. I get to do interesting things, and it's been wonderful. Like, I'm so grateful for, this path and where it took me. And life is just a game. I mean, we take it so seriously. Yeah, it's just really more.
I gotta ask you, were you this chill before you had health issues or anything? Because you're like a really tranquil dude, and that energy is really like just very comforting.
I feel myself drifting, so I've been kind of quiet because I'm just listening to you. Yeah, Yeah,
I'm like very zen, at peace listening to you. But were you like this before, or were you like, cocaine in the bathroom at a nightclub kind of guy?
I think I was always. First of all, thank you. I mean, I really appreciate that. I feel I was always this way, but I never understood why. And I get this. I got this same feedback a few times, especially when I guide the breathwork session, because I guide also prepare meditation every time in a different theme. And I thought that I am doing a great job with the breathwork, etc. But most of the time they told me that, we really enjoy listening to the meditation and just guiding us through it. And for me, that's a wonderful thing. I am so grateful for being able to hold the space for others to find a place to tap into what really matters to them.
And that is a real skill, because people confuse like the timbre of your voice or timbre, whatever, what's the softness with like being like relaxing. I've had some people where the energy is just not for me, and like just because they're speaking calmly and they're presenting as calm, it has me in a high sense state of like conflict, because I don't want to listen to this person, right? Like, and then there's other people that aren't trying to be calming at all, that are just talking about the weather, and I'm like, dude, that was exactly what I needed to chill out. Like, like sometimes it's just this energy match that is the real thing, not necessarily how they're talking.
Yeah. And it also goes both ways, because sometimes people might confuse your calmness with weakness, or they might think that you are easy to
push around or something.
I had a martial arts instructor years ago, was one of the most tranquil dudes ever, who would end you with a flip of his finger. He was just so physically capable. And he said, it's kind of, but he was 6'7", right? He was a big guy. So he's like, listen, people don't mess with me, but they think I'm stupid because I speak very slow and I speak very calm. They don't mess with me physically because I'm huge. But if I was a small guy, I think I would have had people walk all over me, because they confuse this for something that it is not. And I was like, yeah, wow, good point. 20 years later, I now kind of understanding what he meant by that. Well, listen, Nakhil, I love talking to you, man. I could talk to you for the rest of the day, but we gotta eventually steer this guy home. What we call this the commercial? Like, what's the Nakhil commercial? Like, what are you up to these days? Where can we get people excited about you?
I mean, I'm available in social media, LinkedIn and Linktree and so on. Happy to connect. I mean, if people listen to this podcast and want to reach out, I find a lot of joy in meeting new people. As I
love it.
Perry called,
if you want to say the links,
the
you
Human
can.
Mycelium Network.
Yeah, you could say the links. You shoot them out there. Let's.
The links.
Yeah, like a main, like even if it's a website or
So I have a website. It's simply myname.com, nakhlikhoury.com. On LinkedIn, the same name, Nakhli Khoury. These are my main channels. Is there a lot of
Nakhli Khourys out there, or no?
Sorry?
Is there a lot of Nakhli Khourys out there, or not really?
No, that's one of the advantages of having this name, right? I mean,
not a ton of them, huh? No copycats out there. That's really funny.
It's really a pleasure. I mean,
thank you for taking the time, man.
It's already an hour or so. Yeah.
And I'd love to shout out Perry and the Octopus Movement, just because that is how we met. And I do love that group quite a bit. Tom's also a fellow octopus. So I don't think we got down that rabbit hole this time, but but it's a great group, and I'm just still excited to be in it because we get to have conversations like this. So I'm just wanted to tip my hat to Barry and company. Yeah,
yeah, definitely.
Well, listen, it was great talking to you. Thank you so much for
your
time. And this is probably the best way I could think of to go into the weekend, for God's sakes. This was perfect.
That's beautiful.
All right, guys, take care. Enjoy.
Bye-bye.
Be subversive, irreverent.
Health is wealth, but you knew that.
Everybody knows that.
But so is following us on social media at Irreverent Health. And check out our website for more exclusive content at irreverenthealth.com.
Oh, I like this.
Thanks for tuning into this episode of Irreverent Health.